Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking the Doctor Who episode Into the Dalek. Sorry this episode's going up a few days after the episode aired. It's Labor Day weekend just wrapped up here in the US. As you can see, I'm not at home. I'm actually visiting some relatives in the boonies of Virginia. So just to let you guys have a heads up, I'm not going to be able to get a review for Saturday's episode out until Monday, simply because I'm going to be traveling back home all day Sunday. It's a drive that takes like 14 hours. So yeah, I'm going to be pretty whipped when I get home. So that'll have to wait until I've had a good night's rest. But anyway, let's just kind of get right into things really quick. And this episode is all kind of based on a comment that was made by a Dalek to the Ninth Doctor in the episode Dalek, one of the I think it was maybe even the second episode after the series started. But the Dalek basically said to the Doctor, like he did this episode, "You would make a good Dalek." And the real thrust of this is, as the Doctor said, the Daleks have turned basically refined evil into almost a mechanical art. And as it's also referred, the Doctor even defines himself in a way as being the antithesis of the Daleks. But what the Doctor kind of tends to overlook is just how powerful his own hatred of the Daleks is. And it's not the first time that the Daleks have remarked on just how powerful that hatred is and how beautiful it is to them, simply because, hatred is what Daleks are all about. So this just kind of raised the question once again of just how is the Doctor that different from the Daleks when he lets that side of his nature out. And it also kind of raises the question is that we've seen before. When we saw the earlier Doctor, the Ninth Doctor, he kind of described himself, I was a soldier, I fought in the Time War. Well, now we see that here the Doctor has an incredible disdain for soldiers. I mean, Journey Blue, she's not a perfect person, but generally speaking, she's got all the real qualifications that the Doctor tends to look for in companions. It's certainly not that the Doctor is necessarily opposed to military people. For example, one of his closest friends is the Brigadier, Harry Sullivan, and Sergeant Benton. While maybe not exactly companions, were good friends of the Doctor's. Well, actually, no. Harry Sullivan does full on count as a companion. And it's not that the Doctor isn't even generally opposed to taking on companions who have a history of violence. Jamie, one of the Doctor's all-time favorite companions, was a warrior, a Scottish Highland warrior. Maybe one of the best examples would be Leela, the Fourth Doctor's companion. She was basically kind of one of her shticks was that whenever she would meet somebody, she'd kind of want to whip out their knife and kill them, and the Fourth Doctor would always have to be saying like, "No, Leela, there's no need for that." So it does seem a little bit hypocritical that the Doctor is going to dismiss someone like Journey simply because she's a soldier. But on the other hand, we see this episode a lot of the pros and con sides of people who do come from that background. After the Doctor saves her life and brings her to her uncle, the guy apologizes, thanks the Doctor, and then says, "Well, sorry, we're going to have to kill you now in order to make sure that you aren't a Dalek spy." And the Doctor does have a very, very long history of not really being a big fan of the absolutist thinking that is often a part of the military mindset. And then there's also the fact that the Doctor generally tends not to get along too well with people who want to execute him. So there is that. But again, last episode we even see the Doctor saying to the half-faced man, "I have the feeling that I'm going to have to kill you." So again, it does sort of bring up the question, how different is the Doctor from Daleks? How different is the Doctor from ordinary soldiers? And then this is also kind of where the character of Danny Pink comes in. Here we see someone who has been in the military, who, by his own admission, has almost certainly taken the lives of enemy soldiers, and as we see in this episode, probably took the lives of some non-combatants as well. So it is a big question, is when you are someone who does have blood on your hands, where does the line get drawn? Where do you cross the line from being someone doing what you have to do into being someone who can no longer genuinely call themselves a good person. And that whole question, Clara, be a pal, tell me, am I a good man? Well, that's the big question that the Doctor is asking himself right now. So, how different is he than Danny Pink? How different is he from Journey Blue? How different is the Doctor really from the Daleks? And that's what we're really going to be exploring this season. Now, just kind of getting into some more of the details. First of all, have you noticed that this is the second episode in a row where they've killed one of the actors from Game of Thrones? The first soldier guy to die inside the Dalek, that was Dolorous Ed from the Night's Watch. And last episode they killed Sir Dantos. So yeah, that's pretty fun. Obviously, this episode's sort of based on the famous movie Fantastic Voyage, which I have seen. It's an older movie, but it's a very good movie. So if you're somebody who doesn't really get a bug up their butt about having to deal with old science fiction movies and how they don't tend to jive so well with modern sensibilities, then that's definitely a movie you should check out. Or if you're looking for something that's a little bit slightly more contemporary and kind of goes along the same line, go and watch the old 80s comedy Inner Space. That's a fun one too. But anyway, not a huge amount to say about Clara this episode. Here she seems to have kind of come to terms with what's going on with this new Doctor, but again, still doesn't seem to have a really good read on the guy. She's really still trying to figure out what's this guy's deal, what's this Doctor's deal. And I love the fact that she just hot out and slapped the hell out of the Doctor when he was being an ass. The Doctor really does do well when he's got female companions, or just companions in general, who don't tolerate his crap. That's why I think some of the older companions like Joe Grant and Polly probably don't jive so well with the modern audiences, is that they just kind of tended to go along and trust that the Doctor knew what he was doing. And again, here we see that the Doctor really does need someone around who will challenge him. That's one of the things I really loved about Romana as a companion, as a fellow Time Lord. She was, unquestionably on equal par with the Doctor, and it's like he wasn't really one who was going to kiss his ass or tolerate his BS. That was great. That was one of the things that was really great about her. But anyway, so I definitely liked Rusty as a character. The good Dalek. Well, again, we've sort of seen that Daleks are capable of this. Remember Daleks in Manhattan with Dalek Sec or Dalektor or whatever. Sort of realizing like, hey, we need to evolve. We need to sort of be more narrow-minded. And also keep in mind that the Daleks have been known to turn on each other, for fighting for being loyal to Davros, or just, well, complicated reasons. Doctor Who lore, go look it up. So it certainly would be interesting if this what's going on here with Rusty. It reminds me of in a way we might be potentially looking at if you're familiar with Star Trek: The Next Generation. They basically freed a Borg from the Borg Collective. Geordi ended up giving him the nickname Hugh, and kind of managed to reestablish his sense of individual identity. And this was long before 7 of 9 came around, and that ultimately ended up causing some major ramifications for the Borg Collective. There was kind of Borg turning on each other. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe Rusty might not be the start of something like that for the Daleks. I mean, can you imagine a faction of Daleks teaming up with the Time Lords or the Doctors to fight the evil Daleks? I mean, that would be insane. And this does kind of address one of the fundamental problems with the Daleks, is that they are not terribly deep as a species. It's just the Daleks are evil. There is no such thing as a good Dalek. There is no depth to the Daleks, really. They're just not really as characters. Often they're just sort of a force of nature. It's kind of like the Daleks are like Jaws. All right, there is no depth or characterization to Jaws. It's just a shark that eats, and the same way that Daleks are just weird robots that kill. Okay, cyborgs, they're cyborgs. But I think you get what I'm saying here. So by introducing the idea that some Daleks could follow a different path, that introduces things that really do have the potential to make the Daleks much more well-rounded and much more interesting. It's sort of like what they did with the Klingons after classic Star Trek, is where they started portraying the Klingons as a more multifaceted people. There were good Klingons and there were bad Klingons, instead of just flat out Klingons are bad guys, the end. And the idea of the Doctor sort of being the one to sort of set some of the Daleks on the path to being good beings. I mean, wow, look at that. It would mean that the choice the Doctor made back in, I believe it was Genesis of the Daleks, not to alter the past and prevent the Daleks race from ever being born, was the correct one. And if you're not familiar with this episode, go back and watch it, because that's really, not only is it one of the best Fourth Doctor episodes, it's really one of the most vital episodes in terms of continuity involving the Daleks. So again, the question of, am I a good man? Well, if the Doctor could make it possible for some Daleks to be good, to open the door for the possibility of a redemption for even a small portion of the Dalek race, I mean, that would be an extraordinary thing. And it would also open the door for him to sort of put some of the hatred he has of the Daleks aside, to judge Daleks by their actions rather than by their existence. And I think that's something that this Doctor definitely needs. And yeah, guys, I think that's all I have for you this time around. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.